Hello and welcome to Run Testers. My name's Nick, and in this video we're going to be comparing the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo and the Nike Alphafly 3. The Metaspeed Sky Tokyo and the Nike Alphafly 3 are two of the best carbon plate racing shoes on the market, in our opinion. They are both very fast, they are both very efficient, they're great for races of all distance. The Asics is a much newer shoe. It came out fairly recently in the second half of this year, whereas the Alphafly has now been out for around 18 months, so it is one of the older carbon plate shoes on the market, but certainly still a very fast and impressive option. The Asics is the cheapest shoe. It's £240 or $270. The Nike is £285 or $285. The Asics is also the lighter shoe. It's 169 grams or 6 ounces in a UK 9, which is a US 10. It's one of the lightest carbon racers on the market. The Alphafly is 220 grams or 7.7 ounces in a UK 9, US 10 as well. Got a 5mm drop on the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, an 8mm drop on the Alphafly 3, and they both have stack heights that bump up towards that 40mm limit set by World Athletics at the heel. Comes to the design of the two shoes, you have an atom knit upper on the Alphafly 3. It's very open and breathable, as you can see at the front of the shoe. You've got a booty style fit with the tongue integrated into that upper, a little bit of padding around the heel, and an internal heel counter there at the back to add some stability there. A midsole made from Nike's Zoom X foam in the main, with these Air Zoom pods under the forefoot to add a little bit more energy return and a slightly firmer feel under the forefoot than you get with a full Zoom X midsole. You've got a carbon plate running the full length of the shoe, and then you have a fast shot rubber outsole with good coverage on the forefoot of the shoe, and then a couple of sections at the back to protect the heel. With the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, you've got a motion wrap 3.0 upper, again a very lightweight and breathable material that's very open in the front of the shoe. You've got a more traditional tongue on the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo though, similar design at the back of a small internal heel counter, a little bit of padding, but mostly the uppers on these shoes are designed to be lightweight first and foremost. You've got a dual density midsole on the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo with a top layer of the FF Turbo Plus that's been used in older shoes in the range like the Metaspeed Sky Paris, and then a chunky bottom layer of FF Leap. This is the very springy and lightweight material that was introduced with the Metaspeed Ray this year and is a bit lighter and bouncier than the FF Turbo Plus on the top. Again, you've got a full-length carbon plate running through the shoe that sits quite high in the midsole on the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. That's the main difference to the Edge Tokyo, and actually I think a difference to quite a lot of carbon plate shoes out there, how high the plate sits under the forefoot in particular. And then you've got Asics grip rubber outsole, pretty minimal coverage here on the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, fair bit on the forefoot there, but there is holes there. Doesn't extend all the way back either, so very minimal design to save weight.
The fit for me in the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, I'm a size 8 in the UK, this is a size 8. Found it to be very, very comfortable shoes. Plenty of space before my big toe, just about the right amount for, I imagine, most people. But it's also a fairly roomy shoe across the whole length of the forefoot and the midfoot. I did feel like I had plenty of space at the sides of my average width feet to fit quite comfortably, and there's a nice little bit of padding at the back, but it's also very easy to get a nice lockdown fit in this as well. So I definitely stay to my UK size 8 in the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. In the Nike Alphafly 3, it's a bit more of a restrictive fit in this shoe. It's quite hard to get this shoe on. It's got this sort of booty design, and you do have to sort of pull at it to get your foot in nice and comfortably. There is a bit of space in the forefoot, about the same as the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, but it's definitely a leaner shoe in the midfoot. Forefoot's got an alright amount of space for me, but the midfoot, definitely I can feel my feet really pushing against the sides of this upper. So I would stay to my UK size 8 in it, but if you've got wider feet, just take that into consideration. But I will stay to my UK size 8 in both of these shoes.
So it comes to fit of the two shoes. I've got a normal size of both, which is a UK 9, US 10. I use this size across the Asics and Nike ranges, and I've got a really good fit with both of these shoes. I have zero complaints about the fit of either of them. They've been comfortable, they've been secure when running fast, and I've used both of them for very long runs. I've done a marathon in the Asics, several 20-milers in the Nike. I've done short, fast stuff at the track, and the hold is secure enough in both of them. So yeah, I had no problems with the upper or the fit of either shoe. I would stick to your normal running shoe size. On to run test, and I've done about 200 kilometers in the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, all of which has happened over the past couple of months of marathon training and then running the Loch Ness Marathon itself. And I've done about 160 kilometers in the Nike Alphafly 3, which I've used a lot over the past couple of years, especially when I was first testing it at the start of last year, and then I've gone back to it on several occasions. I've raced in both shoes. I've done a few 10Ks in the Nike and run my fastest 10K of 31:33 in the shoe, as well as doing several long, hard marathon training runs in it. I haven't actually run a marathon in it yet. It's always been usurped by the shoes, mostly from Asics. Whereas Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, I have run my half marathon PB, and then I ran a 2:24 at the Loch Ness Marathon recently. So I've done loads of running in both shoes. I really do think they are excellent carbon plate shoes, but they have quite a different ride feel, and I think will appeal to different people. And for me, it's the lighter, poppier feel of the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo that tends to work better for me. So it's a lighter shoe for sure, the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. I think when the Alphafly came out, it was pretty much in line with most carbon shoes, the weight of it. But since then, we've seen lots of really lightweight shoes come out from Asics and Puma and Adidas as well. Their shoes very light, and the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo is one of the lightest on the market. And you do feel that on the run. Like, it's not like the Nike feels heavy, but the Asics feels really notably light and nippy, and you still get a full stack of bouncy foam underfoot, and it does have a very springy and responsive ride. You know, it's got a slightly firmer feel than the Nike at the heel, I would say, and it very fast transition onto the forefoot, and then a load of pop off the toes thanks to that carbon plate, which does sit a little bit higher and nearer the toes in the shoe, and it gives me a feeling I really like as a runner who has a high cadence, who can be quite shuffly. He isn't necessarily putting loads of force into the shoe at all times. I always feel like I'm getting a lot of response and bounce out of the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo and a lot of lift off the toes. And that's really at any pace, whether I'm going all out in a short track session or running a 5K or in a marathon, at the back end of a marathon when I was starting to struggle in Loch Ness, it still felt like I was getting a load back from the shoe, even when I wasn't really running at my best anymore. Now, on the Alphafly, you've definitely got a cushier feeling at the back of the shoe. I think it's a fair bit wider as well. I think you're getting a more stable and safe feeling landing in the Alphafly, and you still do have then a very direct and fast transition onto those air zoom pods, which then give you a nice amount of punch off the toes. Like, it's certainly a really effective racing shoe, and it does have probably a slightly more bouncy feeling in the sense that you sink in more and then get more bounce back from the Alphafly than I think you get from the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, which still feels more like a fast and firmer transition despite being a pretty soft shoe itself. Alphafly, I think, gives you a cushier feeling, a more protective feeling. I think for marathons, it's a feeling that lots of people really like the feel of. I do think it protects the legs extremely well, and I was fine in the marathon, the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, and I think it protects the legs well enough for me with my running style. But I think maybe if you have a more loping style or a slightly more forceful or heavier runner or something like that, maybe that extra cush you get from the Alphafly would be of benefit over the course of a long event like a marathon. It still is very fast over short events as well. Like I said, I run my fastest 10K in the shoe, and I think it's getting a little bit underrated almost these days, the Alphafly, because it is slightly long in the tooth, and other brands have been releasing shoes that are very innovative, things like the Puma Fast R3. Asics keeps pushing boundaries of its shoes, which are really lightweight and very impressive, and I really love all those shoes, but the Alphafly remains a very fast and impressive racing option. I do think for the marathon, it remains one of the best options in the market if you do want that little extra feeling of cushioning while still having a very bouncy and fast ride. So I did do a short run in both shoes at the same time, and I could feel those differences in the shoe, especially landing at the heel like I do. You get that cushier, slightly cruisier ride from the Alphafly. It feels really good for locking into a pace and holding it, but the Asics has that nippier, faster feeling that I really like, and it does feel like the transition is a bit quicker and I get a bit more punch off the toes when I'm running in the Asics. And it just seems to really suit me very well. The Alphafly doesn't disappear on the end of my foot as much. It feels bouncy, it feels fantastic. The Asics feels more like a part of my foot almost, and feels very easy to turn over with my high cadence style because of how light and agile it is.
Okay, so the Alphafly 3 has been out for quite a while now. There isn't a new version of it yet, and the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo is pretty new. And both of these shoes are pretty good carbon plate race shoes, but there are a few big differences in how they ride, which makes it easy to pick between the two. The Alphafly 3 I have used quite a bit. I used it for Boston Marathon last year. Alphafly 1 was my favourite shoes of all time. I still use that if I'm going out and I'm going to do a PB attempt at like 5K or 10K. They're a bit old now to be using for marathons, but that shoe works really, really well for me because it was really bouncy. It had loads of foam, had a big wide base on it. It just felt really great for my style of running, and I used it for everything from 5K all the way up to marathon, and some of my PBs are in that shoe. The Alphafly 3 I think is close to that, but I never really got on with it in the same way. I did find that it was just didn't feel like it was as bouncy for me. It didn't feel like it was as efficient for me, and it just felt a little bit, there was a bit less on the feet, but without really gaining a lot from it. I think it's an absolutely fine shoe. I think as in the world of carbon plate race shoes, it's still one of the better ones out there. But for me, it just doesn't seem to work as well as the original Alphafly, and I'd definitely go for that shoe over this. But the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. So this is a really nice development of the Metaspeed line, and it I've always enjoyed the Metaspeed previous versions, the Paris and the Metaspeed Sky version of it. And this new version is really, really good. It feels bouncier, it feels a bit quicker, it feels like there's more of a pickup to it. It just feels a bit nippier, but still retaining a really good soft bouncy foam in there as well without feeling too lean. And as a result, it's just a really, really fast shoe now. And I enjoyed the Paris, but I wouldn't have put it down as one of my favourites. Now I would put this down as one of my favourites just because it feels like there's so much more to this shoe. And it really is a top tier race shoe at the moment. So comparing these two shoes, I would say it really comes down to the fact that the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo just feels lighter on the feet. It feels like there's more of a pickup in it. It feels more responsive. And it just feels like you're getting a much quicker turnover and a bit more bounce from it than you're getting in the Alphafly 3. There's not loads in it. The Alphafly 3 still is a fantastic shoe and there's still loads of benefits to wearing it. I just think the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo just feels very, very quick and light and just slightly more than the Alphafly 3, which is a solid shoe, but it hasn't kept up with what the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo is delivering at the moment. Also, I would say the outsole on these. So the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, one thing I really like about this outsole is that on the outer edge of the shoe, the front and back sections of this rubber are connected. So it's just one piece of rubber that goes across. And I tend to destroy that section, the back section of most of my super shoes because they're normally it's normally a bit thinner than what you get on normal shoes. Because I supinate a little bit and I really rub that down. So I really like that design of it because it means I don't rub it off. The Alphafly 3, there is signs of wear and tear on this. It is coming off a little bit, but I have used this for about 90k so far. And it's holding up pretty well. So in comparison to a lot of the other super shoes out there that I tend to have completely destroyed, this is still looking pretty good. It's also got a really solid outsole on the front of this, over the top of these AirPods, and quite a thick layer of rubber as well. So pretty good durability on the front section of the Alphafly 3 as well. Okay, so my verdict on these two shoes, I think they're both fantastic carbon plate race shoes. I think they are shoes that if you were going to go and do a 5k to a marathon, these are both great options. And I think they are similar in the sort of performance gains you get from both of them. The difference, I would say, is that the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo just feels so much lighter on the feet. I think the foam is far superior now to what you get in the Zoom X in the Alphafly 3. And I think there's a bit more responsiveness as well. So really, it's just a superior shoe now. I think the technology in the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo has really come on in the last two versions of the Metaspeed line. And this just goes, it's by far a superior carbon plate race shoe at the moment. I think the Alphafly 3 is still very good and it's not far off it. I just think the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo has overtaken it and it's just better for pretty much everyone. The only thing I say about the Alphafly 3 is that you're probably getting a little bit more comfort in this shoe for longer distances. So if you're out running a marathon and maybe you wanted to run at a more comfortable pace, or you just wanted to have a bit more foam and a slightly bit more softness in it, you're going to get that with the Alphafly 3 now, I think, over the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. Although, to be honest, I like really squashy, bouncy shoes, and the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, I think, would be fine for me to run a marathon in as well, just because it feels like it's got this perfect combination of lightness and leanness, but it's still got really formidable midsole in it as well. So I'm going to go for the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo in this versus.
On to verdict then. So for me, I prefer the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. I prefer the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris to the Alphafly 3. I think the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo is even better than the Sky Paris because you've got a lighter and bouncier design here with the new shoe. And it's also the cheaper shoe of the two. So yeah, I would go for the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. I think the drawbacks of it compared to the Alphafly, I think it's not necessarily going to be quite as durable as the Alphafly because of the way the outsole is designed and maybe the slightly more lightweight design in general. Like the Alphafly, it feels like it's built like a tank. It does feel like it's going to be a very durable shoe, but I don't think necessarily going to be a huge difference in your racing shoe. I think you're still going to get lots of very fast miles out of the Asics, so that wouldn't necessarily be a reason to go for the Alphafly. I think one reason you might look at it is the extra cushy feeling you get, especially at the back of the shoe. If you're looking at marathons in particular, if you're a runner who has maybe a slightly more forceful style than me, like I say, maybe a bit heavier, that extra cushioning might be a benefit, and it's certainly a very impressive and protective marathon racer in particular, while still being very good for those short events. But yeah, I prefer the overall feel of the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. It's the one I'd go for myself, so it's the one I'd recommend trying first if all things are equal. That's a comparison of the Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo and the Nike Alphafly 3. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please do like and subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.